Well, hello, folks. Election done, signed, sealed, certified. Danielle Smith wins large. I don't have the official numbers. I guesstimated in at 54%. We'll see how close I am on her majority. Now, folks, Alberta, first past the post, how it's always worked. Federal Conservatives, provincial Conservatives here in Alberta is very simply as it's always been like this. However many candidates you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as well as tonight. This is the same for federal CPC. You cast your vote. Who's your first choice all the way down to your sixth? Whoever places last, if there's no majority, meaning nobody cracks 50% of the votes, you don't have a majority, you knock the last person out. You go through how their votes are administered, 1 through 6. Second gets all the second, third, fourth, and on, and you keep reducing the players down. You keep expanding the numbers in people's first, second, third, fourth choice till you get there can only be one. That's how it works. And Danielle Smith won. Doesn't hold a riding in Alberta, not an elected MLA. She was tonight elected premier with literally, possibly 68,000 to 74,000 votes. I haven't looked at the numbers yet. She's still giving her speech. Of course, I listened to the bulk bread and butter of it, listening to Danielle Smith. I remember her a very, very long time ago in my life. I watched her go absolutely crazy. And there's many conservative UCP, former Wild Rosers, right here on my Facebook who've taken jobs at the Western Standard or moved on to high-profile appointed positions in UCP were standing with me that day when she went absolutely nuts, screaming her head off. This is my party. And I mean, this is my party. And she went ahead and crossed the floor. It's not the only craziness we've seen her do. She's got all kinds of crazy. I would equate her to as crazy as Rachel Notley. And not in a good way, folks. For one, I have no respect for the lying lawyer Rachel Notley. She's personally lied to my face. In fact, some of her goons, one of which is now with Danielle Smith, head of her campaign, was even mouthing off to me with my little girls some years back before I even built my party or had decided to run for Alberta independence. And she allowed that to happen. They basically laughed in my face, made a joke of me in front of my children. Of course, I wouldn't react. With politicians and their security, you know what's going to happen to you. Folks, Danielle Smith presents you a monumental lie, just like so many liars of all Canadian politicians in every province. She says the Sovereignty Act. The Sovereignty Act is going to hold Ottawa to account. Folks, the Sovereignty Act is unconstitutional. More than that, in the province of Alberta, as is every province and every territory, you have a Crown-appointed position through and administered by Prime Minister, whomever Canadians have elected. Highest authority, the ability to stamp bills. I can tell you, I built the Alberta Independence Party. I gave the real legal path to Alberta independence. If you don't believe me, Elon Musk, right now on Twitter for the last 3 days, is attempting to sell that in its entirety to Russia and Ukraine. Of course, Ukraine's not going to have any of it. They tell Elon Musk to go shove it where the sun don't shine. Elon's not doing good. His company's actually crumbling pretty good, but we're not going to go on to that. I'm just going to state, if anyone doubts the legal path to independence as was presented in 2019, the ability to win the crown in any province and go through to the federal government, I started that process. As I learned more and I did a worldwide tour, I've met the greatest legal minds in all the highest academic institutions in the entire world. We're the UN state Canada. We have no superpowers. We have none whatsoever. We're just a little old General Assembly state. There are imposed rules upon us that we have to live by, as well as our crown monarchical system in our limited codified constitution. There are rules, folks. Rules that nobody gets to break. And you know why? Because there are filthy, greedy, seedy, corrupt politicians who will never, no matter conservative, liberal, NDP, Green, People's Party of Canada, independent, it doesn't matter. Their pockets are getting stuffed with the power of the crown, with zero accountability, zero rules of governance, and no rules of how to govern. Basically, they make it up as they go, as in a party just made up rules of how to elect a new premier in the province of Alberta with 68,000 votes, even though a majority of Albertans would not elect Danielle Smith. In fact, she doesn't even have a seat. People are chiming in about that. Well, guess what? Wave the magic crown wand, and MLA will step aside, and Danielle Smith will assume their seat. That's how it works. Sorry, this can be done all over Canada. Magic wands get waved all the time. Where do they come from? The Crown Customary Law of Canada. There is no real democracy. There's only what the illusion of democracy they show you. I could see all the leftists, all the neutral. I was glad to be on Global tonight because I got to see a nice, well-rounded group of conservatives, liberals, massive NDP Alberta Party, all confused at the first past the point post vote. And I had a good chuckle at that. I had to explain to a few people. But folks, Canada is built and cemented in Crown customary law. The unwritten laws handed down to us to the United Kingdom to give your governing elected politicians and all of those whom they appoint divine power over all of you, meaning they don't have to be democratic if they don't want to. They get to make up those rules literally with the wave of a magic wand. Here's one of those wave of magic wands, and it's clearly identified. Clearly. And all the greatest constitutional experts ranked in the world from every other country, including two that were Canadian, who've been bought by the United States because their minds are more valuable there, don't waste it in the illusion of democracy called Canada. They're gone. They're gone. You've lost them. They've published extensively, but they're gone. They're in the U.S. now. Now, what is outlined is this. Lieutenant Governor stamps all your acts and bills in a province. I should say bills into acts. Federally, acts into bills are done by the Governor General and the Parliament. All of the 10 lieutenant governors, 3 commissioners of the territories, must stamp every act and every bill. They say, according to the Crown, we deem this constitutional in Canada. And then they go, is that right, Prime Minister? Or is that right, Governor General, who is sworn to the Prime Minister, goes, is that right, Prime Minister? And that's how it works. Even your Supreme Court of Canada, even Alberta's Superior Court, and all provincial Superior Courts, all territorial provincial court or Superior Courts go, is that right? Is that right? And they go, yes, or they say no, or you're going to do exactly what I tell you. Don't even have to have a law degree. But if those justices and the lawyers underneath them want to retain their bar, they will follow that Crown customary law as they're oath-bound and sworn to it. Every party, every MLA, every MP, all the appointed Senate were sworn to whomever you've elected Prime Minister. Governor General appointed by Prime Minister, Lieutenant Governors all appointed by Governor General, sworn to Governor General, whom is sworn to Prime Minister. Governor General will tell Selma Lacanny, I'm sorry, you will not stamp Danielle Smith's Sovereignty Act, because clearly in the Constitutional Act of Canada, 1867-1982, your sovereignty belongs to Her Majesty, His Majesty now, King Charles Rex the Third. The narcissist has added Rex, Latin for King of Kings. King of Kings. Charles the Third. That's where your sovereignty is. And he doesn't like Sovereignty Act. And he doesn't get to have a say because he gave the say, his crown, to Governor General, who is appointed by Justin Trudeau, sworn to Justin Trudeau, and Justin Trudeau gets to say, I, in Canada, am the official King of Kings. I assume Charles's power because I've been given his crown, Governor General. That's my Governor General, who acts at his discretion through me and what I say. And I say, opening paragraph says no Alberta sovereignty. None whatsoever. Ring-a-ding-ding. Selma Lacanny, send her act all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, and they will make a ruling. Governor General, Chief Justice Wagner, do you have the room sitting? Are they all there? Rule it unconstitutional. It is, but that's the power that they get to do. It's been going on in Canada, folks. It's called King's Court. If you want to look at my friend Richard Albert and most of the academic community, they put together a map of all the constitutions in the world. And you can go back as UK was today, as is and was in the time of the Magna Carta, has always been an uncodified crown customary law in a constitutional monarchy. Uncodified, meaning not written, meaning the king writes it. And for Canada, the constitutional monarchy, when you read our constitution, it says Justin Trudeau decides. Premiers can decide some things if they make a deal with the federal powers that be. They do it all the time. The big losers are always you. Now, I know it seems hopeless. I know this sounds hopeless, but it's not. It's not. In that same constitutional act created by the Crown, enforced by the Crown, they are limited to the words written there. And in Section 58, Part 5 of the original Constitutional Act, never dismembered, there has been no amendment, 11 amendments made. There's been so many judgments by the Supreme Court of Canada, and all of it, in all of Canada's history, they have never removed it. And right there, for all Canadians in all provinces and the 3 territories, there is your provincial constitutions. In fact, you can codify all the First Peoples and give them federalism and settle at least the mighty whopping majority of the provincial crown lands. Jason Kenney, just before he quit, went into debate with myself live at the Alberta legislature in the property rights panel. This is where all this cockamamie started, because his caucus started to break down when I brought forward real constitutional experts in the entire world for all Canadians, not on independence. I created the legal path to independence for all Albertans, but now this is provincial constitutionalism, how to fix broken Canada, giving you options, right? Isn't that what it's all about? If you don't want independence, here's an option to give real power of autonomy, real power of a limited sovereignty, at least in the UN state of Canada, limiting the federal power of your government, enjoying the fruits of a true federalism, just like the United States of America. Section 58, Part 5 cannot, and I repeat, cannot be refused by the Lieutenant Governor. In fact, it cannot be refused by the Governor General of Canada, and in fact, it can't, and I repeat, can't be refused by the Prime Minister of Canada, as long as all those in that province who undertake Section 58, Part 5, codified as an absolute magic wand, crown power, can be administered by any premier, and there's nothing Lieutenant Governor, Governor General of Canada, or Prime Minister, or the Supreme Court of Canada, or the Superior Court of Alberta could do about it. Any province Superior Court. Nowhere in Canada could any power of the Crown do anything about that, because it is cemented, codified Crown legal power that you can't refuse, or you have to dismember the Crown entirely. No judge, regardless of what a premier said, they'll say, I'm sorry, Prime Minister or Premier, I can't refuse this. Regardless of my bar, I would be in violation of the Crown I'm sworn to. That is written. And in Section 58, they go on to tell you about your division of powers. In fact, you go ahead in the Constitution as you go through all the legal jargon, and you get all the way to Section 92, 92A, all the way up to 108, and you get to go through all of those powers that no Albertan or any Canadian has ever had in the regions. Danielle Smith talks about having autonomy of your body, medical freedom. Who's to stop the next premier from scrapping her bill? Come on, Canadians, Albertans, doesn't matter what province you are from. How many times has a premier enacted something just to watch the next premier come in, chop it up, rewrite a new one? Change the goalposts, change the rules, smash the people with the hammer. How many times? How many times have you watched your rights, your freedoms, your legislation tore up, rewritten to literally fuck you over? Wouldn't it be great if you had a codified constitution by the power of the Crown and this constitutional monarchy cemented forever, that every single provincial politician and no federal politician, no matter appointed, no matter what level of Crown, no matter what level of court, provincial or federal, ever be able to step on that? It would be against the law, it would be against the Crown, and it would be codified and cemented in a constitution, a provincial constitution. Let me tell you what they don't want you to ever have. Civil rights. Oh yeah, that's your medical freedom. Remember, a bunch of people are asking about that? Danielle Smith promised you that, but she can only promise it to you as long as she's premier for 8 months, if she gets the act pushed through. Maybe 8 months, maybe only 4. Who knows? She'll never get the Sovereignty Act put through. That's for sure. That's going to the Supreme Court. Any cockamamie ideas that breach and violate the constitutional Crown power get shot down, because it's a first-class system. You either fit in or you fuck off. That's what they do. And Danielle Smith already swore that oath. And guess what? To be ascended to premier, guess what you have to do in 30 days? Guess what Danielle Smith has to do? Oh yeah, just like last time, she's already swore that oath. She's got to swear an oath to that Crown, which means she's not allowed to legally push forward the Sovereignty Act, and she will be removed if she tries to force it. Any MLA will be. And folks, if you don't believe that it doesn't happen, it's happened in Canada dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I remember a beloved Ralph Klein. It happened to him by one Stephen Harper. And he too was challenged by Lieutenant Governor. I know Albertans didn't give a shit. At that time you thought, hey, he's past his time. Who cares that he won a majority? He's not as popular. I like what Stephen Harper's selling me, what he's lying to me with. Sound familiar? Remember Stephen Harper's autonomy? All the things he was going to do in Ottawa. But he swore the Crown oath. When he got to Ottawa, he transformed into Upper and Lower Canada, and it was, fuck you, Alberta. Albertans still, oh no, I don't want to hear it, it's not true. You're lying to me, it's not true. Wow, equalization formula. How did Harper do with that? Oh yeah, he tripled down on us. Alberta's debt from Harper era onward went skyrocket. Skyrocket. Over my dead body, Ralph Klein. And it was. And we all threw him out. I betrayed him too. I was young. I went with Stephen Harper. I believed the propaganda, but no more, folks. I'm going to tell you some more things. Rachel Notley and Danielle Smith going toe-to-toe. I can't stand Rachel Notley. I, of all people, if I'm still around in Alberta for her becoming premier, I'm in a lot of trouble. I got to get out of Dodge. There's no doubt about that. I'll be public enemy number one in the Rachel Notley campaign of assassination. Easily through that, I already know all my enemies there. And anyone who doubts that or tries to say that's not going to happen to me, just go look at press progress. Look at all the communist enemies I've built over the last 20 years. I'm public enemy number one there. There's still massive publications throwing me down into the dirt. And Jason Kenney was happy holding the Crown to sponsor that. Just don't put me under. I'll lie, cheat, and steal. Just don't throw me to the wolves. He took them all in. NDP, Alberta Party, Stephen Mandel, leader of Alberta Party. Oh yeah, he ran AHS. And Danielle Smith tells you she's going to do all these magical things. But you know what's going to happen is she's going against Rachel Notley. And I can tell you right now, Calgary and Edmonton, and mark my words, you can all say, no, you're lying, you're just angry, and when I'm angry, I hate the Crown. But I'm going to tell you, I've watched this play out in Alberta's history before I lived it. I lived Danielle Smith already once before. She will destroy UCP, that's why she's there. She's going to cockamamie it, humiliate Alberta over the next few months, look stupid, destroy UCP like she did Wild Rose before. She says, oh, no, it's going to be different this time. Rachel Notley's going to wipe the floor with her, as sad as that is. Even toes would have been better than Danielle Smith. When I seen it come down to Brian Jean, when I seen those numbers, I knew autonomy is going to go majority to Danielle Smith. This election is over. And now you're going to see a mainstream Alberta, not a UCP 124,000 electorate. You're going to see nearly a 2 million electorate of Albertans, probably a little over 1.3 million vote. They're going to vote majority against Danielle Smith and go with Rachel Notley. That's what's going to happen. She's not going to fix healthcare. And I want to say some things here, folks. This prosperity right now, did you guys see? If anyone who's been following me a long time, go back in history. When I first started talking about Trans Mountain, I took a beating on this too. It's a shallow port, shallow pipeline that goes to the U.S. East Coast. I even know the refineries. I've built some of them. I've worked in them. I've been in that industry most of my adult life, earning a living with these hands. And I can tell you that Trans Mountain is a huge loser. Environmentalists are talking about, they're laughing. It's a huge loser. I told it too. And I'd be a liar if I didn't. You get massive imposed restrictions on your oil, lower than Russia and Iran. Think about that. Blowing up planes, murdering people, developing nukes, invading Ukraine, and Alberta oil trades lower than Russia. And it just went even lower today as Russia went higher. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Saudi Arabia laughing at us. We're not even bad people. This is not only your country, but it's Joe Biden. It's absolutely the Middle East through the East. You want to get through that? Start with provincial constitutions. We're going to lose $26 billion on Trans Mountain. Everybody knew this. You can go back in 2018. They're bringing it up today like somehow this is brand new. It's not brand new. It's very fresh, 2018 fresh on my Facebook timeline. In those exact numbers that they bring up today, they tell you about the epic losses to Canada and specifically Alberta. And it's real simple, folks. Deep port capacity pipelines. Not to USA shipping. We need 1 million to 2 million plus capacity tankers, or at least Suez Canal, 750,000 barrel capacity, because you can transverse with that to the Suez. But for us, 1 million to 2 million plus capacity tankers allows us legally, because there's a world restriction. Albertans and Canadians, Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, they won't tell you this. Jagmeet Singh won't tell you this. Yves Blanchette isn't going to tell you this. The filthiest of them all, Maxime Bernier, won't tell you this. I debated him in economics in Alberta. Folks, since January 1st, 2020, the most powerful nations, including, our neighbor down south, meaning doesn't matter if it's Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or cock-a-doodle-doo, who's ever running the U.S., it doesn't matter. The law is, Canada, you don't get to leave the coast without anything 750,000 barrel capacity Suez max, or 1 million, 2 million plus capacity tanker since January 2020. That's what Canada had to embark on. And we haven't. Not Conservative, not Liberal, not NDP, not Bloc, not PPC. Doesn't matter what party. I've screamed about it for 5 years. Do you have an energy wealth advocate for you in this country? The answer's no. They're all liars. They're all crown sworn. They're all stuffing their fat pockets, lying to you, cheating to you, taking everything from you. They've got together. They've got Danielle Smith. Jason Kenney didn't even show up tonight. He's like this right now. I'll teach you filthy Albertans a lesson. You want to scorn me? I'm a man, baby. And he did. He punished you like you wouldn't believe. You're going to watch Rachel Notley storm through UCP. It's going to be a broken party. Maybe it's enough to wake people up to provincial constitutionalism. Maybe someone's going to come back in time and take this video. Maybe someone will go back in time and go, what was this guy talking about on that video in 2018? Holy shit, it's all true. And he called it number for number. Is it because Jesus told me 4 years ago and I have a crystal ball and this is all right here today? No. It's because it's been played out lots of times, because all of it's in place, because it's called geopolitics. I know the laws that are placed upon Canada, and I cry out every day. And I think I'm probably the only politician who ever cried out about that. I created the legal path to independence to give Albertans a choice, an ability others have used in this world legally. And it's there forever. And in 2025, I'm going to release another one to fix Confederated Canada across all of Canada, including my home province of Alberta. Another option. That option, folks, can be done right now by any premier. Danielle Smith, if she was real and she wasn't a liar, and she wasn't against all of you, she would pass tomorrow with her caucus. They would take what was completed by the property rights panel way back in February, and as I went against Jason Kenney live in late April on radio for all Albertans, Danielle Smith should know she was on the 660. I beat Jason Kenney and presented provincial constitutionalism, exactly what the property rights panel's looking for. And I gave the power to the MLAs, power to you, the people, and real legal law with the greatest minds in the world. In fact, Canada's greatest legal mind, who's ready to walk in tomorrow and administer it for all of you. And it's super cheap. It's in the millions of dollars. It's not outlandish. It's for all Canadians, specifically Albertans, if you want at least a good chunk of that to be determined. It'll spread like wildfire throughout all the provinces. It would destroy the federal government as it is and make them have to dismember and do the same thing federally. Because people would say, hey, I like this. I like accountability. I like rules of governance. I like to have a control on how I'm governed and codified, so no one's going to take that away. No one's going to change the rules. And it's about all of us, the little people. Whether you're a nurse, whether you're in public sector, whether you're union, non-union, whether you're a financier, whether you work abroad, doesn't matter. It works out for everybody. It does. It can. We can make it better than what the USA did already more than 250 years ago today, folks. What are you waiting for? You know it's not getting any better. You know that these aren't the great. I watched it. I watched it on the public media with everybody. And all Albertans going, this is rotten. Rachel Notley, Danielle Smith, what the... And that's general consensus. And I know there's a big gray area of who do we vote for. It's in Canada right now too. That's what I'm going to go after, at least in 2025. There's not much I can do for Alberta. I'm not changing gears. It's up to Albertans. There's a lot of separatists who still follow me. There's a lot of people looking at this. You can do this today. And regardless if you did want to produce or pursue independence, or you wanted to pursue the 51st state, or all these things, it all starts with provincial constitutionalism. If you don't do that, you got nothing but a tyrannical looking forward to government, one you just tried to leave. This is the truth. Mark my words. Danielle Smith is going to fall flat, 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 and everyone's going to go, what the hell, what the hell, what the hell? And you know what the majority of Albertans are going to do? Fuck UCP, fuck UCP. And who's left? Rachel Notley by default? My friend Brian Jean, I am sorry you lost. I know what you were trying to do. I believe it wasn't enough. I believe it's provincial constitutionalism. If you're going to stick around, you saved Wild Rose. Danielle was good enough to at least, give you guys all a shout out in her own way. I don't believe a word of her mouth, but it was well said. But my friend, the party is going to need you again to do what you did for Wild Rose. That's coming. If you don't see that, I don't know what, for all people following and watching, that's going to be a reality. And Brian, if you're hurt right now tonight, I don't know. I'm going to give you a call after this video and we'll see. But you've got to stick around because Alberta hasn't even got its vast whipping yet. We're not even there yet. For Alberta independence, 51st state, provincial constitutionalism. The end justifies the means. Either way you want to go to look at it. Any other parties right now, I don't care which ones they are, because it wouldn't even matter. There's no such thing as left or right. There's only up and down. Up here's the politicians, and all you are at the base of the pyramid paying out with no rules of governance, no rules on how to govern, and absolutely zero accountability for them. A perfect pyramid scheme. We all know those go. Flip it upside down, provincial constitutionalism. Your federalism, very limited, because not one greasy, sleazy premier in all the history of Canada, no matter any province or all the territories, has ever embarked on a road for you, the people, to codify your rights, your powers, cement those forevermore, placing restrictions and rules on them. Like most real, free, true countries, actually, most of the real, powerful, rich countries in the world all have those kind of constitutions. All the loser countries have the other ones: unitaries, monarchies, dictatorships, and full autocracies. That's truth. You're going to be hard pressed to find someone to prove me wrong. Thanks, that's my video. Remember this one, lots in here. Get it shared out. Get Albertans waking up to it, because right now Albertans are scared everywhere. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. Thanks. That's my video. Bye now.